Closed for business. That was the US government on September 30th when the midnight hour struck. Once again, funding for the US federal government lapsed, and we're living through yet another historic milestone that no one wants. The government has shut down before. The 2025 shutdown marks the 11th one since 1980. Although these showdowns are nothing new, they are increasingly risky for the US as a country and for the dollar as a reserve currency. And of course, this has implications for some of our favorite commodities, gold and silver. If you want fresh takes and commentary on precious metals that doesn't oversell or overhype what's really happening, hit that subscribe button. This channel is for you, and your support keeps us alive and ad-free. Thank you. Weaponization of the budget process on Capitol Hill is nothing new, but the nature of the increasingly extreme rhetoric, last-minute deals, and widening divide between American political parties has increased the risk outlook of the United States. The US has lost its AAA credit rating from all three rating agencies, Moody's, S&P, and Fitch. Moody's was the last to downgrade our nation, citing the same things as the other agencies: large and growing debts, an unsustainable deficit path, and our politicians' inability to agree on fiscal measures to right-size a sinking ship. However, all three agencies declared or alluded to political brinksmanship over the debt ceiling as a key reason for the downgrades, perhaps even the primary cause. This is important because the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, but it's only the reserve currency as long as the trust remains that we will be a strong and stable partner. When that trust evaporates, consequences begin to bubble up across institutions and nations. One of those consequences is known globally as De-Dollarization, and the ripple effects travel far. De-Dollarization is the trend of countries abandoning the US dollar as the currency of choice for trade. Reserve currencies exist to deal with the complexities of international trade. By agreeing to use a currency that is trusted by both parties, countries can avoid the bottlenecks and expenses that occur with attempting to conduct trade in native currencies. Now imagine if Saudi Arabia decided to sell oil to every nation in local currency. There are approximately 193 countries, some with their own currency and some without, some that have currencies of little value or that carry immense risk. Would Saudi Arabia want to hold Zimbabwe's dollars, given their history of corruption and currency failure? Of course not. So nations needed one trusted middle ground, a currency everyone could rely on. It made global trade faster, cheaper, and more predictable. Collectively, the world agrees to use a specific country's currency as the lifeblood of global trade. Since 1944, that currency has been the US dollar. But no currency ever sits on the throne forever. History tells us that global reserve currencies shift about once every 100 years. We are slowly creeping up on that period. Historians will tell you the US dollar became the reserve currency for a few reasons, but it's undeniable that holding over 20,000 tons of gold was one of those reasons. Our gold reserves signaled economic strength, financial credibility, and trust in our currency. Before the US took over, the British pound sterling was the world's reserve currency. And like America, they held massive gold reserves, and their currency was built on the gold standard. The pattern is unmistakable. The simple truth is this: de-dollarization is already occurring. Global reserves of the US dollar are at their lowest point in the last 50 years. Major economies are actively working to disentangle themselves from the US's financial orbit. Every government shutdown, every debt ceiling standoff just gives them another reason to keep going, the most recent one included. Meanwhile, one thing remains the same. Gold is the world's fallback. It exists as a store of value completely independent of any country's politics or promises. Today, gold prices are inching towards $4,000 per ounce, and we're nearly at a new all-time high for silver. It's possible by the time this video comes out, we'll have crossed those thresholds. Now, demand for gold and silver bullion ramped up when the shutdown began. Investors seem to know that a loss of trust in institutions is bad for the dollar and feel it's safer to hold hard assets like precious metals. Silver's place in this story is a little more complex and rather interesting. It's a hard asset and a monetary metal like gold, which means some of the tailwinds sending gold higher also affect the world's most reflective metal. Silver has a great deal of industrial use, but its investment demand is nothing to sneeze at either. Typically, when gold rises, silver follows closely on a lag. It's risen about $8 over the course of a month, following the path that gold charted. All indicators are that silver, like gold, will act as a reliable hedge during tumultuous times. But as gold's more volatile cousin, the price movements may be more jagged. There's a lot of justified concern over current events. The government shutdown is a body blow to trust in institutions we rely on. It's fueling de-dollarization, which has the potential to be damaging in the long term to things like housing affordability or social security. A cautious soul might put more personal investment into gold and silver to act as a buffer against bad times. But there is hope. The worst-case scenario may never materialize. We've faced government shutdowns before. De-dollarization is a concern, but it's not inevitable. It's a trend that can be combated. And as a nation, we've dealt with worse. So stay positive and invest wisely. And that's all we have for you today. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.